Greetings and welcome to Education and More's Learn Python 3 Programming at a Snail's Pace. My name is Marcus Gardner and I'm the instructor for this class. In today's video, we're going to learn about lists, creating them and retrieving them. As I told you in the previous video, lists are extremely important, okay? They're my favorite things for right now because you can do so much with them. They are very similar to arrays that we have in other languages, but lists let you do a whole lot more. So let's go ahead and take a look at what you can do with lists, and then let's get into some coding. Okay? All right, here we go. A list is just a collection of items separated by commas in square brackets. Example, this could be your list. Shopping list, okay? Eggs, bread, milk, soft drinks, cheese. Notice each one is separated by a comma, and if there's strings, you put them in quotes. Integers, you just leave it as numbers, okay? But you'll probably have lists inside of lists. For example, eggs, 12 of them, large. Milk, 1 gallon. Coca-Cola, 12 cans. Cheese, 1 pound, yellow. Notice they don't have to be similar at all, even different data types. Look at this one. This one is a string, and then an integer, and another string. This one is a string followed by a string, okay? This one is a string, 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 3 strings. So while lists can do this, it's not going to be very helpful to you as a programmer. If you're going to create lists, it's very helpful if you can find some pattern, or rather, instead of finds that you're creating a list, it's going to be helpful if you make some pattern. That way, you can go through the list programmatically, okay? For example, your first item is always a string. Second item is always a number, etc. Okay? That way you can do something with it. With this, all you can do is display it. You really can't do anything with it. Okay? You're not going to be able to add things up and stuff like that. So this type of list structure is, to me, is worthless. Okay? You might as well write it down on a piece of paper. So we'll talk more about that later. Okay? Now, creating a list. 2 basic ways that we're going to start off with is just put a bracket and then put your list items in it. Okay, for example, here, vowels, A-E-I-O-U. Okay, another one, just started out as a blank. Okay, nothing in it. So both of these are lists. This one just happens to have nothing in it. In a later video, I'll show you how to add items into your list. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and create our own. All right, let's see here. I've already got lesson 17.py started. So let's see, what could we do? Well, we could create a one called months. Now this is something that's going to be very important later on. So let's go ahead and do something like this. January. And it has 31 days. Okay. February. Now this one, a little bit more complicated. So this one's either 28 or 29. So there's a couple ways we can do this. One, I could make this 31-31, which means it's always going to be 31. And this one, 28-29. Okay. So that is one way to do it. I'm not going to do that, okay? But there's nothing wrong with doing it that way. And then you can just say, well, if it's divisible by 4 and some other constraints, then you use the second number. But to me, I'm just going to go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to use this number unless it's divisible by 4 and other constraints. Add 1 to it, okay? Whoops, I forgot a comma over here. And then just keep adding my months. I'm not going to put them all in here, okay? But anyway, this is how you would do it. Okay? Now, to get them out, well, you can just say print months bracket 0. Just like strings. For the string, the string bracket 0 gets you the very first letter. Well, now we have a list of items, so it's going to give you the very first item. Now, what if you wanted, say, the letter J? Well, that would be months bracket 0 bracket 0. Okay, let's go and give it a try so you can see it works. Right click here, open in command, and now we're going to type in Python lesson 17.py, and there we go. So the very first item, of course, meaning the 0 index, and then of course the very first letter. Okay, and that's all there is to it. So how do you think we should, write out the name of the month and then the number of days? Name of the month, number of days. Name of the month, number of days. Okay? Well, there's a couple ways to do that. Now, you remember length, right? Okay, well, let's print. Well, let's see if we can do this. Now, do you remember how to use length? Okay, let's see if this is the way how to do it. Okay, do you remember how to do this? Okay, so this one is going to give us the length here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so what we could do, let's do a range. Do you remember that? So for I in range, length of months. Okay, now obviously I know how many months there are. I could do for I in range 6 here, or 12 for number of months, but in this one 6 because of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. Oh, 24 rather, instead it's 12. But I'm going to use this because this is very important, because many times you're not going to know how many items are in a list. Okay? And so what we're going to do is we are going to say if it is the even numbers, then I'm going to print out the item and the next item after it. Okay? If it's an odd number, I'm just going to skip it. So in other words, when going through this list, I'm going to go through it 6 times, but I only want to process it 3 times. I want to process it here in January, process it here in February, process it here in March. Okay? But remember, the for loop is going to do each one of these. So I'm going to say if I %2 is equal to 0. Do you all remember, I forgot the colon here, do you all remember what this I %2 does? Okay, it gives us the remainder when we divide by 2. Then I'm going to print months brackets I, and then I'm going to print months bracket I plus 1. Okay? And that's it. I don't need to do something like if I %2 equals 1, then, do nothing. I don't need to do that. So it's automatically going to do that when it says this if. It's not going to execute, so it's just going to go on to the next one. Okay? So let's see. There we go. January 31, February 28, March 31st. Now again, later on, we'll learn about how to pretty this up, make it nice and beautiful. The month being this way, the days of the week, all being lined up, days of the month rather. Okay, so we're not going to worry about prettying things up right now. My most important task is to make sure that you understand how to use these functions and stuff, okay? And how to use Python is much more important than how to make something look beautiful in Python. That is just small details, okay? I want you to learn the big stuff first. All right. So, let's see. Anything else over here? I already got that. And I already told you about that. Okay, like I said before, your lists do not have to be, the same type of data. So here is a student named John, and there is his 4 grades, okay? Or GPAs for the first 4 years, or whatever you want to call this, okay? All right. And so student info 1, well, this is 0. So all of this is 1. And so 2, this is 0, 1, 2. So this is going to be 3, okay? I'm going to let you practice this, okay? So here, student info contains 2 different types of data. It contains a string named John, and then it contains another list, and that list is his 4, for example, yearly averages or whatever, GPA for the first year, second year, third year, fourth year. Okay. And then student info 1. Well, this is 0 and this is 1. So this whole list here is student info 1. Bracket 2 means the second item. Well, not the second item. Index 2. This is index 0, index 1, index 2. Okay? All right. Now, before I get to the homework, there is a program I want to do. Now, many people, including myself, like to gamble a little. I don't gamble much, okay? When I gamble, I always take a certain amount of money. Hey, this is what I can afford. This is what I gamble, okay? So, I'm not one of these people that says, oh, I'm on a lucky streak. Even though I've lost, let me pawn off my car or something. Or let me borrow another 1,000 or something like that. No. If I take $100 and I lose it, I'm done. Okay. Now, I like Texas Hold'em, no limit Hold'em. But many people like dice games. Okay. To me, that's just gambling. Okay. Whereas many of us who like Texas no limit Hold'em, that's not truly gambling. But many people like dice games. And of course, even when you want to play Texas Hold'em online, you're going to hopefully have a good randomized selection of cards. So why don't we test that? But instead of just looking at the cards, we'll do the cards later. Let's look at 6 dice. Let's say you want to roll 6 dice, okay? And I'm choosing 6, although usually people use roll 5. But anyway, Yahtzee. But let's just choose 6. It makes it easier because there's 1 to 6 each one. So let's see what I want to do. My goal here is to see if the randomized part of Python is truly random. For example, if I take 6 dice and I roll them, on average, I should get 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6. On average, not the first roll, not the second roll, but after millions and billions and trillions of rolls. So let's test that theory. So how are we going to do that? All right. So first we're going to, let's call it something. I don't know. Let's just call it list. Now I'm going to have actually 7 items in this list. The first item is the count of the total number of rolls. Now, one roll being all 6 being rolled, okay? And then the first item will be the number of 1s. The second item, the number of 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6. I wanted to do it that way, you know, because it's much easier when I think of, oh, my die rolled a 2. Well, then update list bracket 2 instead of list bracket 2 minus 1. Okay? So sometimes you might want to do something like that to make things easier for yourself. Okay? All right, so first off, this is what's called initializing the list. So we initialize it all to zeros. Now, what do I want to do? Let's say I want to do it 1,000 times, okay? All right. So let's do a for loop. I don't know what we're going to call it. Let's just do counter. Now range 1,000. Or should we do 10,000? Let's just stick with 1,000 for right now. Okay. Now remember, this is going to go 0 to 999. Okay. And well, let me pause right here. I hope you'll pause the video and I want you to try it. What I want you to do is after every 100 rolls, about every 100 rolls, I want you to print out how many there are. Okay? And then at the end of 1,000 rolls, show the final amount. Okay? So, pause the video real quick. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that. All right. So, I said I want to stop at every 100. So, how do I do that? Again, it's not going to be exactly 100. Okay? I'm going to say if CT percent 100 is equal to 0, which means this is going to happen the very first time and then on the 101st roll. Okay? So again, about every 100. All right. So if that happens, I want to print the list. Okay? All right. Now what do I want to do? I want to roll all 6. Okay, now I need a random. So up here, I am going to import random. Okay? All right. So we need that. Now, what I want to do? I need to roll 6 dice. So, for die, okay, 1 die and then 2 dice. I think that's the right way, or is it 1 dice and then 2 die? I forgot. I'm sorry. I'm not an English teacher. So, anyway, for die in, what we want to do here is I'm going to choose range 1 to 6. Okay? So my smallest number will be 1. My largest number will be 6. Okay? And then I am going to get a random integer. Okay. So number is equal to, actually I don't need that range 1 to 6, but I guess it doesn't matter. So let's just do that range 6. I was thinking of this next part, which is getting the random number. Okay. So number is equal to random dot random int. And then here I'm going to put 1 to 6. Okay. So I want an random integer from 1 to 6 inclusive. All right. And then I'm going to say, now how do I get this number into list? Well, that's why I did it the way I did it. Let's say this is the number 2. Well, I am going to say list bracket number is equal to list bracket number plus 1. So I'm going to increase it. And then I'm going to increase. What do I need to do now? Okay, we finished one row. What did I say that first item was? The number of rows. So list bracket 0 is equal to list bracket 0 plus 1. Okay. All right. So that should be it, unless I made some mistakes. All right. Now, I did make a mistake. I forgot something. But I want you to take a look at my output to see what I did wrong. Okay? And it's a very common mistake, okay? Very common. I'll give you a hint. It has something to do with this and this. Okay? All right, I'll give you a couple seconds before I go ahead and try to run this, assuming there's no other mistakes. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and try running it. All right, so we're going to do Python lesson17.py. Okay, random int. Okay, I did random instead of rand int. Okay, there we go, rand int. There we go. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, see my mistake? Do you see it? Do you see it? Remember, this is 0, so my last one was 999, so it didn't get printed. So I need to print list one more time. Okay, try again. There we go. Okay, so a total of 1,000, because 0 to 999 is 1,000. So it looks like number 1, number 3, number 5 were rowed the most, more than 1,000. Okay, let's try it again. This time 1, 2, 3, and 5. Let's try it again. This time number 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the next question it would be is, how many times does number 1 get favored? How many times does number 2 get favored? So how do we do this? So what I want you to do again is pause the video, and I want you to modify the program to count every time one of these got above 1,000, and do this, say, 100 times. Okay? Well, let's make it easier. Let's do it every 10 times and have you press enter so you can actually see for yourself. In other words, do this once, press enter. Do it again, press enter. Do it again, press enter until you've done 10 times, and then show us the result. How many times was number 1 favored? How many times was number 2 favored? All the way up to number 6. So, pause the video and try to add that little bit. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so let's continue. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create another list. Let's call it Advantage. And we're only going to have 6 inputs this time. Did I do that right? 3, 6. There we go. And let's see here. The rest of this is going to go indent. All right, so I want to do this 10 times. I'm going to call it Advantage in range 10. Okay. And all right, so what I want to do here is I want to say if list bracket 1 is greater than 1,000, then I want advantage bracket 0 to be advantage bracket 0 plus 1. And then I want to do the same thing 6 times. But I don't like that. I don't want to type this 6 times. Can you think of a shortcut for me? How can I do this just once, but be able to do all 6 numbers? So, again, pause the video, and I want you to put this in some type of loop where you don't have to do this 6 times. Okay, the loop will do it for you. So pause the video and turn this into a loop. This is very important, you knowing how to do this, okay? It will make your code a whole lot better. So pause the video. Okay. All right, so what are we going to do here? We're going to do another for loop. For shorten. It doesn't matter, whatever. Okay, in range 6. Okay. So now we want to say if list shorten plus 1 is greater than 1,000, then advantage bracket shorten is equal to advantage bracket shorten. Okay, so remember, this is going to start at 0 and go up to 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, but I don't want, because remember, list 0 is the number of times we rolled the dice. We don't care about that. We want to start with 1. So that's why we got to add 1 to it. Okay, but our advantage, we want to start at 0. Okay, so that's why I have list bracket shorten plus 1. So again, if list bracket shorten plus 1 is greater than 0, then I'm saying the advantage for that item is going to have to increase by 1. All right, now there's a problem. If I run it again, well, the number is going to be at 2,000, then 3,000, and 4,000. So I need to correct that by setting the list again. Okay? There we go. Okay? Let's see here. Oh, I don't want it there. Sorry. Okay, so here for advantage in 1 to 10, good. So here I want it here. After we've done this, and then I've checked, I printed the list. That means I'm here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I am here. I printed the list. Okay, so that means I've finished 1 iteration. Okay. And so now I'm going to do the 6 numbers. Okay, so now I'm ready to reset. Okay, that's good. Now I asked you to have them input something. So let's just call it enter equals input. Hit enter key. Okay. And that's it. One last small detail. We need to print advantage. Print advantage. And that should be it. Unless I got a mistake somewhere, that should be it. All right. Yep, I got a mistake. I put a bracket instead of a parentheses. Line 13. Okay, try it again. All right, hit enter key. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh no, I spelled advantage wrong. Oh, drats. Okay. Advantage, print advantage. That's why it's much better to have just copied and pasted. Oh well. Let's try it one more time. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this time number 1 had an advantage 8 times. Number 6 had an advantage 8 times. All the rest, much less. So especially number 5. Okay. Now, does that mean that 1 and 6 are the best? Well, let's try it again. Remember, 1 and 6 was the best. This time, it was a tie. 1, 5, and 6. It still looks like 1 and 6 is favored. So let's try it again. This time number 3 was favored. Again. This time number 2 is favored. Okay? So, now to find out, we really need to do this millions of times. Okay? And this is what the Gambling Commission does. They test the randomized sequence to make sure that you are really randomizing the numbers. Okay? All right. But, you know, we're not playing for money here. So this is good enough. All right. So hopefully you understand how to not only use lists, but how to use some of the other stuff we learned. Okay? You know, like entering an enter key after, you know, every few times. Doing the for loops, using the percent sign, okay, using range. So it's important you understand how to do this, okay? Now, I've given you some easy homework. Let's see if I have that so I can show it to you. Let's see here. There we go. Let's show it to you. I want you to think of 5 different kinds of professions where lists would be important and the kind of lists they would use. No cheating. For example, I don't want you to the list to be similar. Don't give me customer list for bakery, customer list for company B, company list for customer list for company C, etc. Okay? That's cheating. That's not 5 different kinds of lists. Okay? All right, so I want you to have 5 different kinds of lists, okay, and show how they will be helpful. You know, have you ever worked for a company? Maybe your parents have a company. You know, would lists be helpful? Okay, and then what I want you to do is take everything you have learned about strings and anything else you have learned to print out every element in any list. Okay? Now, we haven't talked about all the ways to print out all the elements. I showed you one of the ways. Okay? And I want you to look at the ways that we did with strings. And I just want you to try the things that you can do with strings and see if they work with lists. Okay? They may not. But this is the best way, is to learn by experimenting. To get you started, you can try the vowel list. But it should work for any list of any size. Now, we're going to stick with a single simple list. Single simple list. Example, no list inside of a list. So, I want you to think of everything that we have learned with strings and see if you can find out a whole bunch of ways to print out everything in a list. Okay? So, I showed you some tricks with strings. See if they'll work with lists. All right. So that's a very simple assignment. Let's see. Can I think of another assignment for you? All right. How about a very simple one? Ask what day it is. Don't worry about leap year. And just print what day it is 1 week from today. 7 days from today. What day is it? Okay? So you have to do the months, the number of days. So add 7 days to it. This is a very popular one. But, of course, the very popular one is, all right, let's add 10,525 days. Okay? Or go backwards in time, 20,423 days. Now, granted, I think it's called the Gregorian calendar is what we use now. Wasn't invented back then, but let's just assume it was. Okay? So, anyway. I hope you enjoyed this video. And we're going to do a lot more with lists. Okay? Many more videos with lists coming. So, hope to see you there. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.